All right, brothers and sisters, WVON 1690, the talk of Chicago. I want you to go to our website, straightwords.com, straightwords.com. You can find out how you can support our show by going to straightwords.com. You'll see all the information on how you can make a monetary donation to keep us going strong so we can keep fighting the power right here on WVON 1690, the talk of Chicago. You can also text us. Our special text line is 312-480-9775. 312-480-9775. That's a real quick way to get in contact with us 24/7 right here at WVONstraightwords.com. All right, brothers and sisters, Naba'a Muhammad, Brother James G. Muhammad, and Brother BJ, we're here for our final hour. We want to tackle some international affairs. But, brother, we got Sister Rebecca who's been holding on. And
Okay.
Can we go to her real quick before we get into our next segment?
Absolutely.
All right, Sister Rebecca, you've been granted permission to be on Straight Words on WVON. Go right ahead, sis.
Hi.
Hey.
I was thinking that Biden should just go ahead and give Kamala the role as president now. Why is he waiting? Either he do that and step down completely, or he exercises his right to immunity like Trump says he's going to do when he gets in office. It seems like to me he's waiting on Trump to take the first blow. And they've already written this project 2025 letting you know their blows are going to be rough. So it's like a bully in the playground. Why are you waiting on him to hit you? You know he's going to hit you because he done hit you before. He just showed you how he hit you. All these different laws that they passed, that all the things they've taken away, the way that they've been trying to take away our right to vote and everything, why don't you hit him now? They passed it. He got his corrupt judges to pass a law that says that he is not held accountable for any crime that he commits. So you need to use that to your advantage right now. You need to give Kamala that full power, or because Mr. Biden knows that he's on his last leg, we know he probably don't have that much more time. So, why waste these next 2 or 3 months? What you do is you use it to your benefit. Make sure Trump goes to jail. Why are they holding off on that? He already had his courts said that he has the immunity to do whatever he wants to do, which means Biden right now has that power. Send him to jail for the crimes that he has committed, because he put our country in harm's way when he had our top secrets there and showing them to people, to all these different people that do not like America. He was showing these, what are those papers that he had? He was showing those secret papers to anybody and everybody. And we don't know who our enemies are, and we don't know who he's sitting with, but we do know that when he first got in office, he had a meeting with Russian president behind our back and would not let us see that. And that right there to me is treasonous. I don't know why they can't see this. And how can you want to vote for a man that has called our soldiers who fought for us and who lost their lives for us? And how do you call them suckers and losers, and you sitting there yourselves that want to vote for him, like that silly man that called in and said he's not going to vote at all, and then the one that called in and said he is going to vote because he thought he was doing better with Trump. No, you weren't. Tell the truth. You tell the truth. Because we lost more than any of the third world countries of our people. We lost 1 million Americans under Trump administration. Let's tell the truth now. Somebody do your homework. All these people calling in talking about they educated and they got their degrees and they got their businesses. You're not doing your homework. And it's simple and plain and right out there, plain as day. He shows you what he intends to do to you, to not just you, but poor white people, poor Mexican people, because he's letting you know he only cares about himself and people that can help him, which are billionaires. Those are the only people that can help him. He don't care about the average man. He don't even care about his own family. He's actually thrown members of his family under the bus. He's got right now his first wife at his golf course as a grave site so that he does not have to pay taxes on his golf course. That's how low down this man is. He did that, but he claims to you from the very beginning in 2016, he said that he was worth $3.6 million. That's what Oprah was worth at the time. But do we remember that Oprah started from absolutely zero? and this man started off rich, and if you're worth the exact same amount as somebody who started at zero, that means you're not a great businessman. So stop lying, people. Stop falling.
Rebecca.
All right, sister. Thank you.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
Before we go to Brother Brian, a couple things. I want to thank Brother Imam Sultan Rahman Muhammad. I want to thank Brother Barney. They pointed to a couple of things that, brothers and sisters, you can go and you can get the minister's words directly for yourself and exactly what he said about Mr. Trump. One, you can get a transcript on finalcall.com, a final warning to U.S. President Donald J. Trump, the U.S. government, and a final call to black people. This was an address delivered by the minister to President Trump and the U.S. government on November 16, 2017, from the historic Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C. Now, this article is excerpt, but you can get the full message, which I advise you to get. Go to store.finalcall.com or call 1-866-602-1230, extension 200 again. Store.finalcall.com or 866-602-1230. The minister's address, his major message to President Donald J. Trump and the American government on November 16, 2017 at the Watergate Hotel. That's one. The other thing, the criterion, thanks to Brother Imam Sultan, the minister also speaks to Mr. Trump directly in that message. You can get, the transcript is divided in two parts, right? This is from the July 4th, really major historic address, the criterion delivered from the minister's home in Michigan, July 2020 address, the criterion. You can read the edited transcript on finalcall.com. But, again, go to store.finalcall.com, and you can get it on CD, DVD, MP3. You can download it, brothers and sisters, directly into your computer. You paying pennies for major wisdom. I'm saying, literally, you're paying pennies for knowledge that is like a $1,000 seminar, at least. It's worth more than that because it's life-saving. So what's the value of something that saves people's lives, man? That's immeasurable. Right. My point is, the minister is offering this great wisdom. For basically giving it. Store.finalcall.com. Criterion. So, thank you. Let's go to Brother Brian.
All right, Brother Brian. Thanks a lot, sir.
Hey, Brother Brian. How you doing?
Salam. I'm doing good. I get a little something in my voice, but you will get through that. But listen, I also, if you don't mind, Brother Naba'a, on those list of messages from the minister talking to Mr. Trump, I think we should also suggest them go and listen to Savior's Day of this year as well, where he's addressing Mr. Biden very specifically and how he handled, or really mishandled, Netanyahu, who is now in Washington on this very controversial visit. And but I think that as people are high energy, about Mr. Trump one way or the other, Mr. Biden one way or the other, I think that we need to, especially as black people, because we have a tendency to take the devil or Satan, thinking that we're doing something, picking either one. But I think that we should vote for God, and I think that we should listen to the man of God, as has been encouraged, to hear what he has to say on both of these people.
So brothers and sisters, you just got another great recommendation. Savior's Day. Savior's Day. Right? 2024, right? Savior's Day, February 2024. Major message by the minister. You need to get it. Store.finalcall.com. 773-602-1230. Extension 200, and get that knowledge and be up to date. Bro, Brian, I gotta throw a curveball at you. I don't even know if you have seen it. And we're going to get to Netanyahu and his visit in a minute. That's important, sir. Yes, sir. But this, Brother Brian, is something. And Brother BJ, Brother James, I don't know if y'all been watching this, man. But Brother BJ, Brother Brian, I've been watching some stuff on the kind of sports cultural scene. And it was so disheartening for me because what happened, right? So, South Sudan, the youngest quote-unquote democracy in the world, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. They were about to play the U.S., the pros, LeBron and them, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I watched, Brother James, this brother Paul Pierce, great basketball player. I guess he wanted to go with the Olympics. But he, before the game, brother, he was, I just got to say it, man. He was so ignorant in the mockery of the brothers of South Sudan. I mean, straight up ignorant. Talking about, he just laughed and yucked it up with Skip Bayless, the white man. Just yucked it up. Like, of course, South Sudan was like a 35, 40-point underdog. We get that. Yeah. But what Paul Pierce started getting into, it was so insulting with what he started saying and the way that he described these brothers, man. And anybody that knows, it was, the thing that bothered me was, I'm sorry, it just shows the level of self-hatred.
Yeah, right.
That we still feel, right? Because he felt that it was like so ludicrous that South Sudan was even in this position to play the U.S. But like the other brother, it was Skip Bayless, Paul Pierce, former NBA star, and this other brother. I forget the other brother's name, right? The other brother said, well, we need to get some tape on these guys. Talking about South Sudan. He said, because if they're here, they play somebody to be able to qualify to play against the U.S., right? So Paul Pierce was like, well, what happened to Luka Doncic? Luka Doncic, he's a Caucasian. I guess he's from Serbia or wherever he's from. Right. But they lost. Well, we might as well let them play. It was so disturbing to me because, one, it was insulting to these brothers. And if I don't even follow basketball like that. Can I just say this? But I do know that, like, the French basketball team, right? They got NBA players from France playing NBA players right now. They're playing in the NBA. They went back to play for France, right? Luka Doncic went back to play for, I think the big dude, the center, Jokic. Nikola Jokic. He went back to play. He plays an NBA MVP. He went back to play for his home country. But Paul Pierce is mocking these people, man. Yeah. Acting like they're not coming home from colleges. Some of them are playing overseas in leagues like Australia and all of it. There's a couple of brothers in the league. There's a couple of brothers on the Sudan team that's playing in the NBA. Playing in the NBA. Yeah. But it was such a Negro moment. And denigration of our people because they were from Africa. And they almost got their butts whipped by South Sudan. It just so happened that the brother from South Sudan missed that basket at the end. But the other thing was, when you heard, I forget the young brother's name. Let me try to calm down a little. From South Sudan, but he talked about the struggles of their country. He talked about conditions in the country just after the basketball game. So he gave you, excuse me, he gave you some insight into what these young men were really playing for. But to me, it was like the same Negro mentality. All right, now, okay, worse than that. Now we got Gilbert Arenas on his podcast. He's another great player in the NBA. I don't think he really won nothing, though. I don't know if they ever won a playoff game. They certainly ain't win no championship with him. He was a great scorer when he played for the Washington Wizards, but I don't know how much he won. So then even after South Sudan has this game, look, man, you know anything about basketball or anything about competition, you understand one thing. You don't win off of your reputation unless you can intimidate the other team. But if you can't intimidate the other team, man, we got to lace them up and go head to head and see who wins. And we have seen great teams, man, beaten by quote-unquote lesser teams that didn't fear them, had a fierce competitive spirit, and took them down, right? So now South Sudan takes the U.S. to the brink. It took King James himself to rescue, and it took the brothers from South Sudan and missed that shot at the end. Now Gilbert Arenas goes on his podcast, and instead of giving the brothers from South Sudan credit, like, you know, man, he starts mocking them. Then he says Joel Embiid, who's Cameroonian, but he's playing for America, is throwing the game for his cousins. Then he starts talking about, man, these people from Sudan, they don't even got basketball shoes. We gotta send shoes to them, and we gotta do this. Typical Negro mentality, man. Typical Negro white man mentality. Now you and now you mocking people, and I think at least what I saw on TikTok and Twitter, they quote him as saying the males almost lost. I didn't hear his exact almost lost to the South Sudanese. Oh, the other thing that Paul Pierce said that was so ridiculous, he talking about South Sudan probably ain't got a player taller than 6'3". Brother. Right. If you don't know that the Sudanese people are some of the tallest people in the world, how are you any kind of basketball animal? If you don't know that the NBA, in particular, Brother Luau Deng from the South Sudan, has been investing into the development of basketball there. And they may not even have an indoor court in the country, but they're developing talent. Luau Deng, a brother, has spent, time developing. And to me, brothers and sisters, it is not the thing of sport and play. It is damnable denigration of one another to the delight of the enemy, man. And a lot of us really look up to these people like they got wisdom. Yeah. But in fact, they Negroes that love the white man, and I'm going to say it just like that.
That's right. Go ahead.
Bill Rhoden called them years ago $40 million slaves in a book that he wrote, and he's a New York Times bestseller. But anyway, I'm going to get off of that.
No, but you make a good point. You make it very important.
Go ahead, Brother Brian.
Here, brother, because, see, this is the gap between, who we are, who we think we are, and who we really are but don't know we are. You get me? So it's a thing where, yes, you're dealing with a real Negro who don't know anything about the culture of the people that he's facing on the court, and in his ignorance will make such mockery, And so there is that, brother. You the person you named, I don't know if that was the person they featured. I was watching a program Sunday morning. It came on about 6 in the morning, one of these business shows, and it was featuring him. And I thought he was a coach, but here He's an NBA coach, but he's from Africa, one of the countries in Africa. I don't follow the sports. I can't remember his name, but he scouts. He scouts talent in Africa, as well as build these basketball camps throughout the continent. And to take the sport on a whole nother level on the continent. Mm-hmm. And so, the thing is, what's disheartening is that this Negro thinks that his Americanness, which he acquired as a freed slave, he's nothing but a freed captive with a lot of money. So now you went from one plantation, your people, in a country that has done so much exploitation in the lands of the very people that you are mocking. It shows how crazy we are, Right. And that's why this whole discussion with the elections and everything, because Negroes think that we are American.
And it also shows how, as our brothers and sisters in entertainment, they're the ones that get a lot of the, I won't say it's wealth, but they get the bucks. They become rich, at least with financially, but they rise up into the society of the Caucasian, and they take on more of that arrogance and more of that. Many of them take on more of that attitude where they put others down, especially coming from overseas and underdeveloped, and they keep their wealth. Caucasian societies make sure that they keep the wealth of those athletes, entertainers, many of them away from those of the learned class, who they may not be, who some of them may not respect or value. And so they keep the wealth away from the intelligentsia of our people. And so that's what you kind of see in some of those remarks. I'm sure this brother got a little bit of money. A lot of our athletes got money, but they don't have self-consciousness about who they are, and that keeps that wealth from being invested and shared with those more conscious that could take us, further in our struggle here in this country. That's what I kind of see in that.
Hey, Brother James, but the vast majority. No. I'm just gonna say this: the vast majority ain't got no money after 5 years, man.
Oh no, that's
5 years after coming out the league, you broke.
But that's the point too. They're not smart enough on how to keep their money, and they don't invest it in something that will move our people, our nation further. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
That's the tragedy of it. That to be blind, deaf, and dumb, and think that that's your reality. It's like we say a lot of times. I'm just keeping it real, but how do you know what is real? Yeah. You're blind, deaf, and dumb to yourself.
Yeah, and I'll take it a little bit further.
Let's talk about your real, right?
And
So I'm just saying we're on the same page. It's just to be a fool and don't know you're a fool.
Exactly.
But that's that's what happened to us.
Exactly.
When we were stripped of the knowledge of self.
Exactly.
So now we're doing this, but with a little bit of money, and the money will never compensate.
Guess what, Brian? If the brother, instead of mocking the brother, if he would have said, "Man, damn, our brothers over in Sudan really doing something," and guess what? They got a lot of mineral wealth under their feet. Let me go get Shaq and some of these other young brothers, and let's go over and talk to them. And while we're over here, let's go on over to Ethiopia. Man, get all these, man, Yeah. So the wealth that's in Africa is the liberation of the whole world, but we could be a very significant part in accessing that wealth because we got direct connections if we only understood what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was trying to tell us on the front page of the cover of the Muhammad Speaks when he had Kobe Bryant reaching over to the brother from Sudan on the other side on top of the on the banner of the Muhammad Speaks, man. Yeah. That's the secret weapon that the Caucasian has. Keep us divided. And he rules.
You know, Brother James, you made a beautiful point. The other thing to me is, like, of course, nobody expected South Sudan to compete with America. Okay. But I'm saying as a sports analyst, basketball is your business, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But instead of showing your knowledge, how the game is expanding, let alone what you're talking about, Brother James, which is the real deal, that should be the real conversation. That conversation you're talking about should be the real conversation. But even if you just stay in the realm of basketball, you mocking when you could have actually added information. These are some of the players from South Sudan. This is where they're coming from. This is what the NBA has done in Africa. You know, but you just Negro.
But he was. I didn't see it, so I mean, just going off of the way you described it, he's showing off for the slave master.
Yeah,
and if he had come
for the white man,
if he had come back with, Skip, as a matter of fact, and then went into some deep history that kind of showed the relationship and some knowledge that he had. Hey, Skip, in the Sudan, they actually got where our people built pyramids over there, similar to the ones that's where our people in Egypt built pyramids. So, I mean, just throwing something, I don't know what, but that'll not, he might not be back on the show next week, because that would be too much knowledge for him to be sharing with the other Negroes who listen to that sports program.
You're absolutely right. And the sad thing is, like you say, Brother James, those with a more progressive view in the sports world and those that are working to do stuff, those are the ones that you don't hear from.
You don't see them.
And I'm going to say this, Brother James. So since Paul Pierce was mocking South Sudan, you notice Skip Bayless jumped in and started mocking too, talking about East Sudan. And they just yuck. Man, get some knowledge of yourself, man.
It's crazy.
And guess what? I was about to say, and guess what? That show has been canceled because, Skip Bayless, they didn't renew his contract.
Skip Bayless been fired, right? He been fired.
Been fired, yeah. So that whole thing, look what Allah did to that thing, just destroyed all of it.
Yeah, but it just shows us this whole thing that America sold its own people even. I talk about, I know a lot of people hear me talk about it, this can't keep talking about this American exceptionalism. Yeah, because we have sold, the U.S. have sold itself as like the epitome, like this is like one world. I mean, look at how they describe the presidency. Well, whoever wins in November will be the leader of the free world.
Right.
And then when you look at all of these, like what we're talking about with basketball, you can look at it in music. You can look at it in other markets. If you know, how many times have we heard such and such had a record out, but it didn't. It really was a dud, But it was like the number one in Europe. It was like the number one over in Asia.
Yeah,
we're not the world.
Right.
See, and so when we start talking like that, it really shows out ignorance that this is a planet that is filled of 8 billion people. You know what I mean? And we know from our own lessons, what is the square mileage of 196 million, 940,000 square miles, and it's not still just with Americans.
Yeah, But that's arrogance, brother, and that's
arrogance.
That's arrogance, you know.
I tell you, Brother James, Brother Brian, and Brother BJ, but I think, Brother James, the key is it really revolves around one of the things that you said. I've been blessed to go to Haiti like 5 times. I've been to Western Sahara. I've been to Algeria. I've been to Ghana. I've been to South Africa. I've been to Trinidad. I've been to Jamaica. I've been to Antigua and Barbuda?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And everywhere I go, man, let me tell you something. See, that's why you need to really study and learn something from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the free world, and you ain't even free in this country.
Right.
The leader of the free world, and you in Catholic. Right? But everywhere I went, brothers, I didn't go as a Negro. I didn't go thinking that America was the world. I've been to Iran. I didn't go thinking that because I knew I was the original black man. All 196,940,000 square miles of the planet Earth. I knew who I was. Right. Because I was taught. I knew who my God was because I was taught. I knew what the religion of Allah was because I was taught, man.
Right.
So I didn't have that white-minded leprous disease. And everywhere I went where I encountered black folk, brother, I enjoyed myself. I felt right at home.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. And then when I was in Haiti, one of the brothers came up to me and started talking to me in Creole. I said, man, I'm sorry. I'm from America. All I do is speak English. He laughed. He said, too bad. But I was so proud that he looked at me and felt like he saw himself, man. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We can go wherever y'all want to go with this one. I'm good. Well, I don't know, Brother Brian. Anybody else want to weigh in, and then we can move to the next subject.
No, I just end on, we here in the States, just like every conversation we had was the last hour's conversation. Most of our people, all the reality that they see is within the confines of the United States of America. They don't, like you said, Naba'a, you've traveled, I've traveled. I've been to countries where I didn't even see a white folk. It took me a long time to see somebody white. And these are countries that are being run by black people, and also being misrun because of the influence of the imperialism that's coming from outside their country. But the people here in America, as the minister said, whoever gives you the diameter of your knowledge prescribes the circumference of your activity. So all of the Negroes who are afraid who are going to get elected are afraid because all they know is what they can get in this country from the Caucasian who is the master of this country. We don't look outside where we could be free overnight if we just could do what I was mentioning. All of our celebrities and talented people could go and we could establish relationships with Africa tomorrow and have access to develop. And then you'll see who your enemies are, because as soon as you do that, you will see the full weight of your enemy enacted, and it'll be the ones you sat next to who you thought was your friend. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
But James, I'm going to throw this in. Let me throw this in real quick, because what you're saying, brothers and sisters, and if you think that NBA basketball is just about NBA basketball and not about cultural inroad, cultural influence, economic influence. Yeah. Because these dudes that own these NBA franchises, that ain't the only thing that they own.
No.
They billionaires.
Right.
Most of them made money some other way, and then they bought a sports franchise. So as Brother James, as you said, they understand the future is in Africa. Well, how do you do that? You begin to influence and shape culture and mind.
Yeah. Brother, no.
You begin to now get the people to march in a certain way. You certainly want them to be capitalists. You don't want them to have no real cultural unity. You want them to worship the almighty dollar. So there's a lot going on here.
And Brother Brian could speak on how the collapse of that dollar is happening as we speak. But I would also say, guess who's all up in Africa now? Chinese people. The Chinese people, they don't look nothing like the people in Africa, but they have enough sense to know that there is resources in Africa that they will have to have access to, and the best way to have access to it is to develop relationships where you gain the trust of the people whose feet the resources are under. And I'm hoping that our brothers and sisters in Africa don't fall for any okie doke that might be tried to be put over, and that these relationships are very real and very fair, where they're getting the value of what they're offering in terms of relationships with China. But we're here in America. We're from Africa, and we could be doing the same thing, but we don't have that cultural unity that gives us a global perspective to know, as you said, Brother Naba'a, that we're the original people of the earth, and the other people who are original people of the earth are right over on the other side of that ocean. And not only on the other side of the ocean, they're down in the Caribbean, they're over in South America. We're everywhere, but we are so, man, I was going to use the F word, messed up, that we only can see the bounds of the wilderness of North America. We can't see outside of that. And so we're captives. We're captives, man.
Well, that's what it is. That's why we have to, the awakening of the people is so important. I could understand why we were limited to travel, in the early days on our Black Muhammad, and, because our people, without being awake, we will go. Some of us will go and do the moves that the Chinese are doing and others are doing on the continent, but we will end up doing it in the name of the brutality of the slave master that raised us in bondage. And then we become another kind of problem. See, we become the latest tribe in Africa, and that's why a lot of times I try to speak so strong against that other word that a lot of people don't like to use, but that word xenophobia, because it's so easy for us to look at our brothers and sisters and vice versa in a jaundiced eye, just from the foreignness of it. See, but when we wake up to the fact that we are the original people, that we are the true owners of this earth, that we are brothers. Now the gap is between now conscientizing the rest of humanity around that reality, particularly our Black brothers and sisters throughout the continent and elsewhere, because we don't see each other.
Brother Brian, I'm telling you, and I guess this may be the topic for tonight. But you got some of our people right now that want to deny. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and you all brothers, correct me if I'm mistaken. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the earth belongs to the original black man.
Right.
And he knows every inch of it. And he chose the best part for himself to live. That was in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, basically Nile River Delta, right? He said that the people, the Red Indians, were exiled into North America, right? That's his teaching. He didn't say that we as the original people were living here. He said they were part of the Aboriginal nation exiled into America, right? And so he didn't say we lived here, even though we knew about it. and you got the Olmec heads in Mexico. You got all kinds of evidence. They came before Columbus. That's Ivan Van Sertima, right? His book,
Right.
which deals with all of that, right?
Right.
But if we, but you got some of our brothers and sisters right now, man. Like I did the DNA test, right? I got like 35% genetic material from Nigeria, right? And some from, Ghana. What as much as I was hoping for from Ghana, brother Brian. Wasn't as much as I was hoping for. I got a little Ghana, I got a little Senegal, I got some Congo in me, and then I got some other stuff that I can't. All that was involuntary. That wasn't injected into me. I ain't laying claim.
I was waiting for it.
I ain't laying claim to none of that, man. I'm just I do not count the rapists as my ancestors. I don't care if he was Thomas Jefferson. He's still a rapist and a pedophile. He ain't my ancestor. I don't want to go to no dinner with him. I don't want to establish no ties or relationship. We can talk about selling part of Monticello and give him some reparations. Because he was a sexual predator.
Yeah, that's right.
Hemmings. Because he was a slave master and owned my ancestors. We can talk about that. But we talking about getting justice after injustice, robbery, rape, and murder. Man, I don't take no kinship with you.
That's right.
I'm going to be kinship with you. And you, man, come on, man. So anyway. But you got some of our people today, man, with that literally African genetic material. Right? And we use that word African because that's the word that's used, but we really refer to ourselves as the original people because we're from all over the planet, right? And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked, why does the enemy call our people African? Is to make us think we are all different and all of those are the only people we have and they're all savage. See, that's the Negro mentality taught by the white man. So if you don't have a problem with believing or accepting that the white league in Europe, they're great. But do you know how much you don't think that white folks invested nothing in them leagues to get them white players in the NBA? Right. You think that was just by accident, huh?
No.
You think that was just by accident? As much as white folks love the Great White Hope, please, they have facilitated and grown those things to bring them white folks back into the league. White folks like Mike, but they love Luka Doncic. White folks like LeBron, but they love Jokic because they want their children, and their children want to see. I mean, naturally, man, there's nothing wrong with that. But we know where white supremacy runs in this country. It runs through everything. But you got some of our people, man, with that 35%, like right now, genetic material. And not only that, brothers, a brother showed me how I could, through the database I went to, how I could literally, doing certain things, I ran across someone that we appear to have common ancestors, and that person is direct from Nigeria, man. Wow. Direct from Nigeria, right? We haven't had a chance to connect. I've tried, but been unsuccessful. But this brother did I'm not going to say the company, he did that DNA testing, brother, and found out like Nigeria, Liberia, and other places, man. He went back home, brother.
Wow.
And he said, man, totally accepted. Wow. So for us to be rejecting I guess that's the underlying point. Right. To be rejecting of ourselves in this day and age.
Yeah. Brothers, if we never go to those places where black people are just running everything, we'll never change our perspective of what the possibilities are for us. Go to a different country, black TV reporters, black people running the bank, black people running everything. You don't see no white people. It's just us running things, and you from America, where you don't run nothing. So you got to go over there and see, man, what the possibilities are. That's why it's important, to travel and get out of America,
Mm-hmm. I remember when I used to travel more back in the day. That there was this fight against, or this thing they call cultural imperialism, cultural imperialism, and that was when a lot of these countries were raised. They would raise their voice about keeping out some of the entertainment type of stuff that America was putting out, because it kind of, the influence it had on their people made their people start to act and to have those kind of ideas that white folks in America, that lifestyle of white America had. For example, trying to push certain kinds of acts like homosexuality or that kind of thing in Iran or something, where the people are opposed to that. And so that was a big push about that. And it went back to how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, and you guys could correct me on how I said, but, why does the devil keep us out of his high society or something? And basically he was
equality.
Social equality. Yeah, and he said, because we would see how filthy he is. And if you, that's what they were trying to keep out of these countries, and it has spread far and wide now. So that means they were unsuccessful, but that was what was happening back then, and now he has just captured the world with regard to his imperial cultural ideas and lifestyles. And unfortunately, that's what we see being played out when we now go to some of these countries. And I haven't traveled in a while, but that's what I'm sure.
It's happening. It's sure enough, it's happening. And now that more and more people are traveling, more and more people are in terms of going into places like Ghana. You had the year return. And that was more entertainment than substance. And I know from my own experience living in Ghana, how many people, well, I'm not going to name which entertainers, but who were installed as chiefs even, I would like to name some because I know that they were real about it, the late Isaac Hayes and a few others. But then there were some other ones that they did that was like, what? But this was more of a thing where, it was more not substance, but symbol, because they were hoping that this person would bring his money and influence for development. Right. But they didn't have that in their mind. They weren't conscious, Right. So, but it is happening. That whole thing of cultural imperialism, it's there. And then there's some other good things that's coming out of the cultural connections that are being made, that have been made as well, that we could talk about. But it certainly had its negatives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, man, just to, brothers and sisters, look, I'm just going to tell you, you do your own self a disservice by not looking at and studying and reading and considering the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his books, the words, the writings, the images, and all of that from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Because come out of her, my people. The first exit is out of her mindset, man. Exactly. And I thought about this earlier, brothers and sisters, we all here on this line, we are doing this because we choose to do it. Let me be clear. There's other stuff we could be doing, and that doesn't make us big shots. But my point is we have committed to work on behalf of the liberation of our people. And you're talking 40 years, 30 years, almost 37 years, 20, 25. So we've been in this because we love you. We've been taught to love ourselves.
Right.
And since we've been taught to love ourselves, we can love you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Beautiful, brother. You know,
That's just key.
I was just thinking, brother, you know, I heard the minister say, we the direct descendants of the God who created the heavens and the earth. And the very nature of God is the nature of the black man.
Right.
And every time you look at a black man, you're looking at
You're
God.
looking at God. Amen.
You're looking at people that got the DNA creative force of the God who created everything that you see. That's in us. So that's why we got to go get the knowledge of self. You cannot be fully alive until you have a thorough knowledge of self.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And know who your enemy is. Know your origin in the world. Who we from God, brother. We ain't we don't belong. You know, all the Bible says you don't belong to white people. You belong to yourself. You independent of them. Stop relying on them. Stop looking at this election crap like this is going to be the end all, the end all. It's not. And you're going to see. You're going to see. So, Brother Brian,
Yes,
you're
sir.
a staff writer for the Final Call newspaper. Go ahead and tell everybody the articles they need to read in about 60 seconds, and we're going to wrap this up, big brother.
All right. Well,